Hi, I'm Phil DiCollegiero. I'm the Executive Director of the Amesbury Chamber of Commerce, and you're joining us for another episode of Behind the Brick Wall. To recap, this is a program we created with Faulkner Commercial Group, Mountaintop Landscaping, and our friends from Amesbury Community Television to help take you, as viewers, behind the brick walls of Amesbury's businesses so you can learn about the businesses and the people driving our local economy. Today, like every day we're on this program, we're going to meet two very dynamic business owners. And so,
yes.
Janet?
Two very dynamic women, and their businesses are literally behind the brick wall. We're going to go meet Meghan Kinsey, who owns Motivate Barre, and we'll go there first. And then we're going to meet Michelle Baker, who has Dynamic Balance. And they're two very different businesses, but very, very interesting. You're going to love it.
Two women with a lot of energy.
A lot of energy, yeah.
So we're going to the gym first?
Yes, Motivate Barre.
Motivate Barre. Maybe we'll find you working out, pumping iron? Is that
No, it's not that kind of a bar, so you'll have to come see.
Let's go check it out.
Good morning, Meghan. Thanks so much for carving out time and closing things down so that we could come in and learn more about your business. So thanks so much.
I'm happy you asked. Thank you for doing this, Janet.
So, Meghan, so we're here at 77 Elm, second floor. Your website has very specific directions, which is great. Tell us about how long you've been here and what brought you to Amesbury. How did you come here?
Sure. So, Motivate has been alive for 7 years last week. Just celebrated our 7-year anniversary. And in Amesbury since October of last year. So what's that, about a year and a half, give or take? So yes, this space in of itself, as you look around, it's gorgeous, awe-inspiring, and when I laid eyes on it, I knew it had to be our new home. It was, I kind of manifested this a little bit. I know that kind of sounds hokey to some people, but
tell us about that.
Okay, so we were in COVID, as everyone was. We shut down pretty much the week of our 5th anniversary, shut down operations in studio, which was in Newburyport downtown, which I had been there for 5 years. At the time, I knew that I had to pivot immediately, and we were virtual the next day. So that meant I was teaching all the classes online. Zoom links and the software hadn't even caught up in a sense that I had to do everything manually and teach the instructors to do the same thing. So that was just the first order of business so that I wouldn't go out of business immediately. Once we got that up and running, there we were, it was fine. Then we transitioned to outdoors once it got a little warmer. And so now we're running outdoor classes, virtual classes, but we're still not really in person in the studio sense. So in the summer, that can obviously create a certain amount of anxiety. I mean, I have 3 sons at home. I almost consider this my 4th son. And the fact that I had zero control over if it was going to stay alive or be closed, as 40% of people in my industry did for good, shuttered their doors, never to reopen again. That anxiety led me to do stadiums. That's like, I had a choice, lay in bed and hang out in fetal position or do something. Intuitively, I decided to do something which was what I do, move physically. So off I went. 2 blocks from me is the high school. I live in Newburyport. Up and down the stairs until I felt my heart beat outside my chest. And that took off my anxiety and kind of pushed me into this realm of courage where I dreamt up this. So I started looking for a space, but I wanted it to be very specific. I wanted it to be big, airy, sunny, many windows. I think I even said a dozen, because and if you count the windows, there's a dozen windows here. I wanted brick. I wanted beam. It's kind of weird. So when I walked in, it was an absolute feeling of confidence that this was going to be my new home. So I opened this space in October of 2021. Have you lost track of time too?
Yes, it's the last couple of years seem to be a bit of a blur. But I love that story, and I don't think it's hokey at all, because I do think that we do manifest what we want to bring into our lives, and part of that is having a really clear picture of what that next space looks like, or what that next step looks like. Yeah. And I applaud you for taking action and not not staying in bed in the fetal position and becoming a victim. So
Thank you.
I love that.
Thank you.
Love
Appreciate that.
So this space in Amesbury, how has it been to be in Amesbury? And we love, by the way, we love bringing businesses from Newburyport over to Amesbury. So that's always a nice bonus, the little friendly competition there. And because we love Amesbury. So tell us about how that has been. Now you had your group of clients that were used to, for 5 years, going to your space in Newburyport. So how did that transition go for people that are kind of afraid to make that leap? How did that go for you? How did you make that work?
So I began with a survey, sending it out to my members and saying, all right, so how far would you be willing to drive? And I heard the primary group that pushed in and answered the question said they would be willing to go up to 15 miles from downtown Newburyport, or 15 minutes. I forget how I phrased it. And so I was like, all right. So then I kind of dropped a pin and drew a circle and thought, all right, there I am. My husband was always the one in my ear saying, I like that we're next to the water, but when you drop that pin and draw your circle, a lot of your people are fish. So they're not coming to you. So if you want to move a little further west, that will serve you. So I was always had that in my head. At the same time, I was still looking. There's so much involved in a studio space, especially when you're a bar studio. A lot of people consider square footage, when I was really considering perimeter, because we set up with the bar on the perimeter. So I needed square footage, but I also I was working with 14 feet apart, according to the state. I still need to fill a class to make us profitable. I was adding more classes. I literally did everything opposite what you would think intuitively you would do. Instead of closing or getting smaller, I expanded. Instead of reducing programming, I added new programming. Instead of reducing classes, I added more classes. I hired instructors. I mean, I could start crying now. And that was all like literally I'm running up and down stadium stairs going, I will do this. I will just do it. I will lean in and I'll have to make it. So in all of that, when I found this space, I walked downtown and I'm already familiar with this space. Ironically, I moved to Newburyport 20 years ago in March. And the first place we went out while we were painting the walls of our new condo, which is where we first moved in, someone said, you need to go to that restaurant Flatbread. And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, it's your next town, I think. And I'm fine. So we went to Flatbread and fell in love with it and fell in love with the downtown Amesbury immediately. And then
and the space has a similar vibe to this.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And so knowing I already loved it, I went back downtown and kind of sat there and kind of just reimagined the vibes. And I found everyone kind of had this edgier way about them. I kind of enjoyed that. I felt like there's a lot more chatter. I enjoyed that. I was like, all right, I felt like home for the business. And I'm already super familiar with the area and the people in it. So it wasn't like a huge leap. A lot of our clients came right on over. I'd say the clients who had the hardest time with it were people who expected to walk to the studio. Yeah. South Enders in Newburyport, they did. That was hard of a transition. But I would say the group that comes now, it's from a larger region. We have Southern New Hampshire coming in droves, where that was never the case in Newburyport. A lot more coming up from like Haverhill. Like people come from a distance that I didn't expect. And I think when they had to get kind of contend with the downtown parking in Newburyport, we didn't have our own dedicated parking. That adds in 5 to 10 minutes to get your car, put it down there, settle it, and move. So now, technically, I would estimate people, especially in the West End of Newburyport, they're coming here more quickly than they were before. So it was a win for them. And
parking is not an issue because you've got designated parking.
And the least expensive gas in the region, right next door. That's like a joke, but it's like actually something we actually pay attention to. We watch the numbers and we announce it at the beginning of class.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, so you have been here you've been here since October then of 2021. And you became a member of the chamber right away? Right away. So tell us what benefits have you gotten from being part of the chamber?
Connection, for sure, like an awareness of what's going on. I'm going to an event tomorrow. It's funny, I'm trying to think if I just joined first or he and I spoke on the phone. But I remember when he first took the call, he was the one who took the call. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we talked for like an hour. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, I think I made a joke. I said, you don't come off like a nonprofit. And I've worked in the nonprofit sector. I was an elected official, a city councilor in Newburyport, so I'm familiar with working in that realm. I'm familiar with working for like a big corporate, small family. So I've been paid every single way you can get paid. And yeah, did I have a little set of expectations for a nonprofit? Yes, I was biased. And I was like, dude, you're knocking it out of the park. And I remember him kind of like laughing. He's like, I'll take that as a compliment, I think. I'm like, oh, you should.
Yeah.
Like, you're advocating in such a way that makes me feel very wanted and like clicked in. I've already brought like stuff over there to get photocopied and what is it called? The plastic stuff sheeting.
Laminated.
I'm like, you got a laminator? I'm like, and that's just part of the gig. So I appreciate that about him.
That's great.
Very much, yeah.
Good. So tell us, what was your background before? How did you get into opening a bar studio?
How long do you have? So I'm a teacher by trade. That was actually after a stint in medical sales. So I'd been in the business world doing the whole business suit back when you could bring bagels to the doctor's offices and coffee and bend their ear. I left that, going to grad school for education. So do I have my foundational background in education is hugely instrumental when I teach, because this is still teaching. A lot of people don't, they think you're just going to, do a few examples in front of a group and just expect them to do what you've modeled, but that's not really how it works. When I'm teaching a group class, everyone's coming to class with a very different set of background, limitations perhaps in movement. Their strengths and their weaknesses are different from the person next to them. Some people might learn, by listening to the cues, some visually, some because I'm going to actually put my hands on there and adjust them. So I need to be aware of all the different opportunities for teaching and make sure my instructors are. Fortunately, an amazingly skilled set of instructors that I don't even have to work that hard. Like, we attract such a great group of instructors, so that's a win right there. So having that foundational background sets me up already for, I feel like, being a good teacher. I became a bar instructor though when after the birth of my third son. I was kind of like, there were boom, 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 3 kids in a row, and I was staying at home, and I was still kind of antsy for something outside the house, but not willing to be committed to the point where I couldn't really be primarily at home. So that started out with being a childbirth instructor. I got certified in that, and then I became a bar instructor almost simultaneously. I fell in love with bar instruction and never left it. I worked for the woman who owned the studio. Someone else bought it. I worked for her for years, and I loved it. But when the kids started aging into the place where I felt like I could actually work again, I automatically thought I was going to go back into the classroom, but my heart was really pulling me elsewhere, and I knew it was to this. I have taken 0 business classes in my life, but there was an intuition. I'm very middle-brained. I feel like I had boots on the ground for long enough that I knew I could do this, so I did it. I saved my money. I didn't even take a loan out. I literally squirreled away when I was teaching people bar privately as well. And I opened, and it was such a labor of love, my first, spot. And the people opened the door, and I had been teaching for years in Newburyport, so people knew, and they followed me in. Right. And off and running we were. I still get excited every time I put the mic set on, turn the music on, and we go. And the community, they become friends, so it's easy to kind of check the social box too at the same time, which really makes this really fun. Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And don't they say I'm not sure how that.
You never work a day.
If you're doing something you love, you never work a day in your life.
Never work a day.
Right.
And it's true.
That's great.
Absolutely. I love what I do. Yeah.
And do you ever think that it's the lack of formal business training and education that maybe, instead of saying, well, then I need to do this, this, and this, that maybe kind of expanded the possibilities and made it more, made it easier to think outside of the box?
I would have been a little more white-knuckled, because I felt like I wasn't working in the confines of what are your key performance indicators, and what's your business plan? When someone actually said, well, you have a business plan, right? I said, I suppose I do, but it's in here. Literally, I'm very intuitive. I get a gut feeling. I didn't want to partner for a reason. I kind of knew that I'm going to rise and fall based on what's happening here. And so, I think you're probably right.
It's a great, you have a great story.
Thank you.
And what are the age groups of
people who come here?
Yeah, of your customers.
They're all over the place. So I love our youngest set. They're often the daughters of people who come here regularly. I love when they come together. We have quite a few mother-daughter pairs. And I would say that they're probably anywhere from like 13 to college age. So that's probably the youngest that come. Before COVID, my older clientele, I think, had one that was somewhere in her early 80s. I loved her story. She's a twin, and they both have scoliosis.
Wow.
And her scans are remarkably better than her twin sisters because she came to Barre religiously.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was really cool to see. I love this for the purposes of fitness, and a lot of people have like aesthetic goals and all that. But when I hear about people achieving goals that have to do with something bigger, like you're born into this body, and it's like you get one go at this. And you've got all these goals you want to do, but this has got to get you there.
Right.
Like, I like the fact that, ironically, I had a conversation today with a woman. I love that everything I've asked my body to do, it's done. It's doing it. It's happening. And I'm 50 now. It's like, I'm on the back 9. So it's like, I'm swimming upstream. I'm working. I gotta lift heavier weight now. I gotta increase my protein intake. I gotta take advantage of every health habit that I have in my toolbox and employ them daily, because when you don't, you back off, you can feel yourself kind of falling off a little bit more quickly than perhaps I did 20 years ago. So I feel like every day is a gift. Honestly, I jokingly say this, but I kind of mean it. I like to get up and really feel like super excited about my day. And now I know my mission is to kind of pass that feeling on to the people with whom I interact, be it in the studio or health coaching, or like on the street, like vibrate with that excitement and make it kind of catchy. And then if there's questions about how to make that happen, the tools, like ask me. I'm all about testing different tools out.
That's excellent. This has been so much fun and so informative, and we could probably continue to talk, I think, for hours.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I can't wait to come and check out one of your classes. I know you do have virtual classes as well. Mm-hmm. So for those of us that get to escape to warmer climates, we could take you with us.
You can. And it happens. I've got a client in Europe right now. And it's fun to see her on screen. Yep. And this building is expanding. We have a brewery coming down below us. So that makes bar to bar quite easy. We have a new tenant next door, a pair of women who are, one's a hair designer, and the other one is a breath work and makeup and photography. We're a great little community at Mill 77.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. This was really fun.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Well, it looks like she got you working out.
Well, she did. She was teaching me a pose, and I definitely am going to sign up. And it was great. It's a beautiful space, and she's a wealth of knowledge, and it was just a pleasure.
So I think that she mentioned that this is going to be her third full year, maybe her second full year actually, rather, in Amesbury. And I mean, she's just been she's clearly a ball of energy, but to have her be part of the business community and to be this cheerleader for Amesbury commerce, but also literally the community overall, she's been a great addition. And so I love having her. I love that we got to go and take a peek behind her brick wall.
It was great.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that she had us. We're gonna go look at another ball of energy right now, right?
Yes.
Dynamic Balance.
Dynamic Balance over at 26 Millyard. Michelle Baker.
Right above the Blue Moon. So for folks that don't know, Michelle applies some of her energy, not just professionally, but also to the chamber. She actually is the chairwoman of our membership committee, and so takes that energy and enthusiasm for Amesbury's businesses out and about to many other businesses, because I think that, again, she's somebody who has a lot of passion for the success overall of the business community here. And so I'm psyched that we get to go and check out what she does.
Very interesting. Let's go. Well, hi, Michelle. Thank you
Hi.
so much for carving out time out of your schedule to do this so that we get to see and hear more about what you do.
Thank you.
So now I've known you for years when you did massage, and we're going to learn about dynamic balance, which you've been doing for how long?
So I started my practice in 1996, and it was called Guaranteed Fitness. And over the years,
Right,
it had
right.
evolved. And when I introduced massage therapy, it became Guaranteed Fitness and Bodyworks. But then I eliminated exercise altogether, and so I had to change the name. And so Dynamic Balance was premiered, I would say, 2016.
And you're here at 26 Millyard.
Yes.
So you're right here in the heart of Amesbury, so that people can find you. So what is your specialty? Tell me a little bit about what you do.
So right now, my biggest focus is working on what's called neurofeedback. I do that with all ages, kids and adults alike. It is a learning tool for the brain in order to regulate brain speeds that may contribute to symptoms of things like anxiety or depression or learning challenges. For older individuals, memory may become compromised over the years. So it's an exercise basically for the brain. And
Interesting.
it's very interesting and very simple in such a complex way, but it is activating certain areas of the brain, bringing energy into the neurons, and they're getting excited and they're firing with each other. Especially when it comes to older brains, you may lose a lot of the connectivity because a lot of things go dormant because we're not using those areas. So it's really good for memory and for things like onset of dementia, and to try to keep the brain activated. With kids, because kids are in a constant state of firing, sometimes there's so much stimulation that they're firing too much. There's a lot of activity going on in there. And so that can be represented in their behavior. And what this neurofeedback is doing is teaching a brain speed that is going, let's say, at 50 miles per hour, but we want to teach it to go 20 miles per hour. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. In all different ages, how young are the children that you treat?
So far, the youngest I've treated is 5. Most of these kids, especially, generally have either a learning challenge or a behavioral challenge in school. But the parents are usually coming to me because they don't want to medicate, and they want to try to do something else that helps to teach the kids how to regulate their nervous system. And so the neurofeedback is one part of what I'm doing. That's the exercises for the brain. But then I communicate with each of the clients about what they can do in their life, behavioral modifications, eliminating one thing or maybe doing a little more of another, so that they're starting to feel better while their brain is becoming stronger. And in general, kids and adults, they want to feel better.
Right.
Right. So I love especially working with kids because they're kind of like a clean slate. They're still willing to almost do whatever you ask them to do, especially if there's a positive reinforcement and reward. And so I also believe that in the way that the world is, and so much is happening so fast around all of us, but kids have a lot more going on in their life, and it can be tough to regulate all that. And then on top of it, you put on all of these parameters and expectations. And so it's about teaching them how to understand what stress feels like in their body, so that they know that it's happening before it becomes some kind of an outburst or a negative reinforcement.
So they can self-regulate before a tantrum,
Sure.
or before they react.
Yes, it
Really
teaches.
interesting.
Yeah, it teaches them resilience, and it's not fair to assume. And I keep talking about little children, but I do work with all ages, right? But it's not fair to assume that stress isn't existing. It's existing for all of us. And if you have to get up in front of the class and you're really nervous about it, it's going to make you feel uncomfortable. But the key is that obviously that adrenaline is going to pump into any one of us.
Right.
But it's about getting up there and then finding your comfort zone while you're in the flow, and then your body starts to regulate itself and you start to feel a little bit more comfortable. And that's one random example, but there's so many other examples. You know, if a young person is in a situation that they're uncomfortable with, or they're fighting with their parents, in the previous sense, especially with some kids, it could have been an all-out blowout, you know, screaming and being really upset. But if you come to a compromise, and also communication is a big thing that I do to teach kids how to communicate, and also teach parents how to communicate with their kids in a way that is a little bit more understanding in their age category, then if there's communication, you both come out successful, and you both want to feel like you have created a positive end to the result.
So Michelle, your businesses have evolved to get to where you are right now. So tell me a little bit about your education background and how you've evolved over the years.
Okay, so I was always very interested in the human health system. I started at Salem State College. I got a degree in exercise science, and I ended up doing therapeutic exercise, working specifically on neuromuscular conditions for about 22 years exclusively. I wanted to incorporate soft tissue therapy because it's not just one thing that fixes the body, right? And so I always was very interested in massage, and I connected with people when I was able to touch them and, you know, feel sort of their energy. And I also ended up getting a license in polarity therapy, which is basically understanding the human energy system as well. Because we have the nervous system, we have the muscular system, we also have to understand the energy of the person too, because that has a lot to do with the origin and the evolution of illness and disease, just as much as when you look at it from a systemic point of view. So I incorporated the massage, the polarity therapy. I did a lot of research and education in somatic psychology, which is the psychology of the body, and how the body manifests what is going on in the psyche through the physical and through the illness. So, and because I was so entranced in how the nervous system connected to everything, I found that the neurofeedback was just another way to not only work with the physical and the energetic, but also with the neurological system. So I became certified as a neurofeedback practitioner, and I'm currently working on my master's degree in psychology.
Wow,
Yes.
very, very interesting.
Thank
Quite
you.
a journey. And have you been in Amesbury for all of this time?
So my business started in Andover. I took about a 10-year leave from Andover traveling and studying, and I ended up back in Amesbury in 2011. And I've been here ever since, and my son is basically what I would consider a townie now because he came as a little person. So we're here for the long haul. I love this community. I love the history, and even having my office in the center of everything makes me feel really at the center of just the heartbeat.
Right, and you are. This location is the center, pretty much the center of Amesbury. You're also really involved with the chamber, so tell us a little bit about that and how being part of the chamber has benefited you.
When I started my business so many years ago, I believed that being part of a chamber of commerce was a way to be part of the community, but in a business sense. And I was able to get quite involved when I was living in the Merrimack Valley. And so when I moved here, it was one of the first things I looked into. Where is the Chamber of Commerce? And I got involved right away. I was involved in the membership committee and have eventually become the chair of the membership committee, and I also sit on the board of directors. I believe a Chamber of Commerce organization is also part of the growth and the connection to not only the community in general, but to all small businesses. We're all in this together. It's such an amazing family, and it is what you make of it. The more you get involved, the more you uncover. And so it is definitely one of my priorities as a business person to be involved with the Amesbury Chamber.
That's great. That's great. This has been so informative and so interesting.
Thank you.
And I've seen your business. The name changes, the new things that you're doing, and it's so interesting. And I just wish you all the best. And I look forward to seeing what you do in the future.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
It's
it.
been fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Well, that was fun. I'm glad we got to go and check out Michelle's business.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it's so much fun because I've known Michelle, known of her, I haven't known her well, but it was so interesting to hear her story and how her business has evolved, and it was very, very interesting. She's a dynamo.
I mean, it's unique too. I mean, when I first got hired and she explained it to me, I remember she needed to go through it a couple times. And I wish more people, and that's why we're doing this, knew about the services she offers, because it's unique, but there's such a need for that type of approach as folks are, battling either issues or just want to improve their mental health. Like overall, I found her business to be just really inspiring. And so, I mean, this is exactly why we do the Behind the Brick Wall program, to educate the public about some of these neat businesses and what they offer.
Yeah,
So.
in prepping for this, I was reviewing her website and learned a little bit more about this business, and already forwarded it to someone who has filled out an intake form, and it already was like, oh, that was perfect. I've already reached out to her, so I love that about this.
She's a ball of energy, and it's a great addition to have, again, to just further diversify the health and wellness sector of our community. I'm glad that we stopped by these two places.
And did I mention how much fun it is that these are women in business? And honestly, I could have sat and chatted with both of them for even longer.
So my
It's great.
favorite part of these programs is actually what's not even on camera. It's you chatting with them as you're getting mic'd up and Amesbury Community Television is doing their thing, because it's a reminder of, we're a diverse community. We've got a lot of neat businesses, but how many people have pre-existing relationships and how you've worked together on different projects. And so it's neat to see people reconnect.
It's great, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it. It's been really fun. Good.
Well, this is another episode of Behind the Brick Wall, and it's made possible because of our partnership with Janet Faulkner from Faulkner Commercial Group, Mountaintop Landscaping, and the tireless work of our friends at Amesbury Community Television, who do the taping, who do the editing, and we couldn't have this program without them. And we're glad to create this program because for people like our #1 fan, Mrs. Ryan, thank you for thank you for watching, and we're grateful that you've taken the time to learn more about our business community. Check back to see what we do next month with Behind the Brick Wall.
Great. Thanks, Phil.